Okay, a stock has returns of 3%, 18%, negative 24%, and 16% for the past 4 years. Based on this information, what is the 95% probability range for any one given year? As soon as you see a problem like this, what distribution should pop into your head?
Normal.
Yeah, the normal distribution. And so in order to make the normal distribution work, the first thing we're going to have to do is find the, see, am I sharing that with you? First thing that I'm going to have to do is find the mean and the standard deviation for these returns. Let's see, who else is on board here so I can ask someone. Ms. Moreno, tell me how we're going to find the mean and standard deviation of these 4 returns.
The 4 returns, let me take my notes. You can ask somebody else as well.
I can ask someone else. Well, thank you.
I don't have my notes here.
Yeah. Mr. Herberholt, either one. Can someone tell me how I'm going to find the returns, the mean and standard deviation for these returns?
The normal distribution.
The normal distribution is not how we find mean and standard deviation, but we're headed in that direction. Can you tell me how to use the calculator to find mean and standard deviation of these returns?
Yeah, plugging it in the data and then using stat later on.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Does that start to ring bells? So this is
second plus 7. Was it that?
Yeah, second, 7. Now, what's the next thing that we need to do?
Plug in the returns.
No, we need to clear it out first.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And here's the reason why. We're given 4 returns here. What if the last problem we were given had 5 returns? There would be an extra return just waiting out there to give us trouble. So here's what we do. 3, enter, arrow down. What do we do for Y01?
Just leave it for this question, I think.
Yeah, just leave it because we only have 1 data series here. We're going to put 18, enter, arrow down for X03. 24, negative, enter, arrow down. And then the last one is 16, enter. So that's all my data. I'm going to just flip back through and make sure I got them all in there and that they look right, and they do. Now, Ms. Moreno, what is my next step?
Second plus 8.
Yeah, second, and then the 8 key, and it says Lynn, and we're going to arrow down. N means 4. We've got 4 samples, and that's exactly right. If that number is wrong, it means you need to go back and clear out and try again. X bar is 3.25. This is our mean. So I'm going to write down X bar equals 3.25. And then I'm going to arrow down, and the standard deviation is equal to 19.35. Have I blown any minds yet? I think this is all pretty standard stuff. Okay, now it asks for what is the 95% probability range. And if you think back to the normal distribution, we have plus or minus 1 standard deviation, plus or minus 2, and plus or minus 3. Between plus and minus 1, what percentage of observations do we have?
68.
Yeah, 68%. And between plus or minus 2, we have, anybody?
95.
Yeah, 95%. And between plus or minus 3, we're going to call it 99%. Now, the problem asks for the 95% probability range. So that means they want to know between -2 and +2 standard deviations. So now all we need to do is take 3.25 minus 2 times 19.35. That will give us the lower bound. And we're going to take 3.25 plus 2 times 19.35. And that's going to be the upper bound. So here's what I'm going to do on my calculator. I'm going to go ahead and say 2 times 19.35 equals, and I'm going to store 1. 3.25 minus recall 1 equals, I'm getting minus 35.45. And then if I do recall, let's see, 3.25 plus recall 1 equals 41.95. And so my range should be from 35.45 up to 41.95. Well, let's take a look at the answers and see if we got close to anything. There we are, minus 35.4 to 41.9%. So we got very, very close, and that there aren't any answers that are closer than that. Okay, so what were there? This is a multiple step problem. Number one, you've got to find the mean and the standard deviation. And you can do that with your calculator. It's easy, easy, easy. Number two, you have to use that information to construct your normal distribution, and then use that to figure out whatever the probability thing is that they're asking you to do. And so a lot of times students will, in fact, this is the problem that the Mongolian lady tried to pull me over the desk over, because it really, if you just look at it and you don't know about the normal distribution and you don't have it on your note sheet, there's really no way to do this. Questions?
So to clarify, if the question had asked what is the 99% probability, or if we had found that the standard deviation was 3 away from the normal, instead of multiplying by 2, would we have multiplied by 3?
Yes. So
Okay.
Let's redo this question. We'll just look at it. But if they had asked instead for the 99%, what you would have done? You would have just exchanged this out for the 3.
Okay, perfect.
Very good. Thank you for. And if they asked for the 68th percentile probability range, this would have been a 1 instead. And those are only the 3 levels that I'm going to be asking you about. I will not be asking you about something that's 2.5 standard deviations away from the mean. Okay, now the next thing we see is chapter 11. Let's get to chapter 11.
Could I ask a question from chapter
Sure.
10?
Sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. What else do you want to see from chapter 10?
Yeah, I was not getting the variance for chapter 10, question number 3.
The homework?
Yeah, I'm getting standard deviation, but it's weird because my variance is wrong, but the standard deviation is correct. So
That is weird.
yeah.
And so you say number 3?
10.
No, no.
Number 3. Number 3, yes.
Okay.
The same problem as in 2.
Okay, so you guys are having the same situation? Okay, so it says it had returns. Oh, I'm going to share this with you. Come on. Uh-oh. That didn't work out. There we go. Okay, a stock had returns of 8%, 13%, and negative 3% for the past 3 years. Based on these returns, what is the approximate probability that the stock will earn at least 14.19% in any one given year?
My bad. I was meaning the practice chapter 10. Sorry, practice. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Chapter 10, practice number 10.
3, yes, sir.
Number 3, sorry. Okay, you observed the following returns of Bennington Corporation stock over the past 5 years: 15%, negative 6%, 18%, 14%, and 10%. And they're asking for the arithmetic average, which is just the mean. They're asking for the variance, and they're asking for the standard deviation. So here's my thought to you. First of all, if they're going to ask you for variance, do things with decimals instead of with percentages. Because it's easy enough to convert, but variance always looks funky if you do it with percentages. What you'd have to do is divide by 10,000 in order to get the number correct if you used percentages, because 100 times 100 is 10,000. But make your life easy. Don't do that. So here's what I would do for this one. I would go to my calculator and I would say, first of all, second data, second clear work. And now we have x01 is 0.15, enter, arrow down, x02, 0.06, negative, enter, arrow down, x03, 0.18, enter, arrow down. The fourth one is 0.14, enter, arrow down, and the last one is 0.1, enter. I'm going to make sure that I've got all those in there correctly. By the way, checking work seems like it takes extra time, but it saves you a lot of frustration. Okay, now, Ms. Moreno, what am I going to do next?
We're looking for the mean.
Yeah, the mean, the standard deviation. What am I going to do next?
Second plus 8.
Yep, very good. Okay, I'm going to arrow down. I've got 5, and that's good because I've got 5 samples or 5 sample size. My mean is 0.102. If I'm going to put that in percentages, all I have to do is multiply by 100, and it gives me 10.2, which is the correct answer. And then I arrow down, and the standard deviation, if I multiply this by 100, I get 9.50%, which is the correct answer. Now, can anyone tell me how I could get variance using this number?
Square it.
Square it. And that gives us 0.00902, which is the same as the answer on the problem. So the trick to that one is to just make sure you put these in as decimal. Anytime they're asking you to calculate the variance, work in decimals, not percentages. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are there any other questions on chapter 10?